This video is about my experience of the last 7 years of working intentionally with microdoses of psilocybin as a neurodivergent mother. I started working with microdosing shortly after my daughter was born, and I started working with it because I was desperate. Desperate and curious. It sounded like something that was really promising, and I had always dealt with a lot of anxiety and depression throughout my life. I had been taking medication for throughout my pregnancy, and while I was nursing my daughter, I had a lot of what folks would call postpartum depression and anxiety. I don't call it that because I just always dealt with depression and anxiety, and the fact that it was increased after I gave birth just made sense. But I needed help. I needed a lot of help, and the medication that I was taking wasn't really supporting me anymore. And I also was at a place where I was shifting my perspective on mental health and mental illness. And while I was going to school in a holistic psychotherapy graduate program, it was helping me shift my perspective around those things. And so medication and what it was doing for me at the time was shifting, and I was curious I wasn't just curious, right? I really thought that microdosing would make a big difference in my life. And so I tried it, and it was really, it was really cool and different. There was also the part where I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict too. So I've had many years of sobriety, and so that was just another piece that I had to consider when I was considering microdosing. For me though, microdosing is a practice that brings me closer to myself, whereas when I was drinking and using other substances, I was doing those things to dissociate and get away from myself. So there was a big difference in that for me. But I still had this inclination to, and this tendency to want to avoid and to want to disconnect and to want to fix and change how I was feeling. And so it was something that I still needed to be mindful about when working with mushrooms. So when I first started, I was really not very great about setting intentions. I didn't have the capacity to set intention. To set intentions, we need to be able to be with our body, because our intention comes from that place. Intentions don't really work when they're just coming from our thinking mind. I think having the intention of setting an intention works really well in place of oh, my body, I don't have the capacity to be in my body. I don't have the capacity to feel a really affirming intention. So at the very least, I can have the intention of wanting to set a positive intention. And also I went with if I don't set an intention, the medicine will bring up what is needing my attention. And So there's just like a twist on agency when it comes to intentions. After having worked with it for so many years, like I know how to set intentions now, but I also have a nervous system that's not the same as it was when I first started. And and so microdosing was really helpful with that. Microdosing helped me with my nervous system healing. Not like it didn't fix anything. Again, like microdosing is not something that fixes things. I don't need to be fixed. I am not broken. There's nothing wrong with me. But it did support me and my nervous system in being able to open up in ways that it never felt safe or possible to do before. That worked best when I would be really intentional about my setting, because I'm like incredibly sensitive, and so the set and setting makes a massive difference for me in my experience with it. And so being in a space where I could feel safe and relaxed, so like turning it into kind of a self-care routine is what was the most beneficial for me. I would take like a day and I would be out in nature, and I would usually cry a lot, and just do a lot of releasing, and it really helped me come home to myself. It helped me drop into my body more and connect with that, which is really important, especially as somebody who has experienced trauma, chronic stress, being neurodivergent. My interoception, my ability to track the inside of my body and my feelings and sensations is really challenging. And so psilocybin really helped with that. It also, I had the experience of it making me really irritable sometimes. Really irritable, really fatigued. It didn't really make me feel more anxious. It usually helped with that and helped with intrusive thoughts for me. But I would be really reactive, especially like the days and weeks afterwards. I'd have a shorter temper with my family and my kids, and that was always really hard because like that didn't feel good. It would kind of like, bring me to really low places sometimes. And I think that those low places were places that I needed to go so that I could make changes in my life that were really necessary, so that I could grow and take better care of myself. That it definitely forced me to learn how to take better care of myself, especially when it came to being like a parent, being neurodivergent, taking care of my sleep, my nutrition, movement, things like that. I had to really learn how to shift my relationship to care and self-care, which was really, really important, especially as a new mom, because suddenly I had these children that I needed to learn how to take care of. And so it was really helpful with that, but it was also really hard. And I think I hear from other parents, mothers, about this experience of it not feeling good with microdosing. And I know that there's a lot of narrative that says that's the medicine working, and that's that like keep with it, and it'll get better, or like it's just part of the process. And I think it's really important to note that On one hand, yes, it does absolutely highlight things that need to be tended to. But I think also for some of us, especially those of us that are extra sensitive or neurodivergent, we have an abundance of neuroplasticity. And so taking substances that increase neuroplasticity, especially as much as psilocybin does, it can create more instability, I guess is how I would describe it. Like I just feel more reactive for a little while after microdosing. And I don't think that that's necessarily just like, oh, the medicine is helping me. I think it's also like, I would call it a side effect for me, really. And so, yeah, I think that's important to mention. I definitely, I mean, since I've been working with it off and on for 7 years, obviously it's something that has been useful and helpful. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been working with it for so long. But I've also learned and found in the last couple of years that just taking lion's mane works really well also. It helps my executive functioning, and it improves my mood and energy levels, and I don't have a lot of reactivity with it. I don't have a lot of side effects with it. If I take too much, it can give me migraines when I don't take it. I would get migraines with psilocybin too after a couple years of doing it. And yeah, so there are definitely side effects with it. And I think it's just important to be aware of that. But it really did help. It was like a really important role in my journey of healing my nervous system. It really helped me learn how to co-regulate. And again, like I said, take care of myself. So that's been really important. I've also done a lot of other things though, and made a lot of changes in my life to support myself and my nervous system healing. Yeah, like again, the interoception piece has been really key, but I'll probably save like talking about that for another video. So I just want to make sure like that I said everything that I wanted to say about it. Yeah, the last thing that I would add is that with working with smaller doses and definitely doing it less frequently, because there were times when I was doing it like multiple days in a row and then I'd take a few days off and I'd do that for a couple of months. It was really helpful in facilitating change, and a lot of the time I need help with that because like I don't want to change, or I feel too scared, or the change might seem too hard, and it really makes it clear like, oh no, I need to change some things in my life if I want to be happier. But yeah, definitely doing it less was helpful, and being more intentional about my setting. And but over a long period of time working with it off and on, I developed a sense of like a similar sense of with like larger doses, where I felt a sense of unity and interconnectedness. And like they always felt like a really good friend, which was bizarre because I mean I am spiritual, but I'm also really like I really like the logical and I like the scientific, um, and I try to find like a balance of those two things. But it was definitely weird to feel like, oh, these mushrooms are like beings and they're my friends, and when I work with them, I feel accompanied, and it's just like a sense in my body. Um, and again, like now knowing what I know, a lot of that has to do with, again, just being able to connect to my physical, like the inside of my body and the sensations there, and to really psychically and physically and energetically be in my body, and feel really present, and I feel less alone. But yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about it for now. And that if anyone is thinking about trying it, or you have been and it hasn't really been working out quite how you expected, like that's the biggest piece of advice that I would give if I were giving advice, which I don't know that I am, is to like really like listen to your gut and trust in your intuition and knowing, and that yeah, like there's a wisdom and intelligence in our body, and it's really helpful, and it knows what we need better than anyone else is going to know. And yeah, and like with anything, there's a light and a dark and a shadow side, and there can be side effects, and yeah, and it should just be like for me it was really important that it was just a piece of a lot of different pieces of self-care and nervous system support. Yeah, so that was my experience, and I'm really grateful for it, and I don't think that I would change anything about it, how I went about it. I am really grateful for where I'm at now, where like I get a lot of support from Lion's Mane. But I know that that's because of all of the shifts and changes that I've gone through and that needed to be made. So that's it. Thanks for listening.